Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guest has a very interesting story. He has gone from 3 tours of duty in Iraq to now being the new minister of the Derby Community Church, Josh Kelmies. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here.
Now, is this weather, it's new to you, isn't it?
It's not entirely new. My last assignment in the Army was actually in Fairbanks, Alaska.
Okay.
So that's where I finished up. I did 3 years there in Fairbanks before going to seminary down in Dallas, Texas.
Right. Now, I'm going to move forward really quick because you've been 3 tours of duty in Iraq, including combat.
About 2 years over there.
And did your experience in the military, in war, did that direct you towards a life in the ministry?
You know, the way it kind of happened is I felt called to the ministry even when I was in college, but I was also very patriotic and I wanted to serve the military, serve my country. My brother was in the National Guard at the time in Louisiana, and I really looked up to him. And so I decided to join the ROTC program at Louisiana State University. And so I decided to just go ahead and serve while I was young and just put off my calling to ministry until later. And then during my time, I was in for about 8.5 years as a field artillery officer, a lieutenant, and finished out as a captain. The Lord really started kind of pulling on my heart and saying, all right, now's the time for you to go ahead and pursue the ministry.
Right. Now, have you met one of your counterparts, Pastor Strong?
Pastor Strong.
In Albany, and his wife is Representative Vicki Strong. There's somebody you really want to meet, because I'll tell you why. And it's kind of a sad story, but you might be able to connect with it. Is Pastor Strong? His son joined the military, and he was kind of like just the impromptu minister in tough occasions. He would and he would rally them and he would pray with them.
Yeah.
He didn't come home, and he was killed in action.
Okay.
In Iraq, and so I think the Strongs would
I'd love to meet them.
They would very much like to meet you because they are very open about his story.
Yeah.
And they are very pro-military and very pro-veteran.
Wow.
When I knew you were coming on, I said, if you haven't met the Strongs yet, they're people that you've really got to meet, and they have their church right in Albany, Vermont.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely check that out. I would love to meet them.
Yeah, and
sure.
Vicki is also a state representative.
Oh, wow.
So she's really gone with the family. What they actually have served as an inspiration to many people.
Yeah.
When their son Jesse died, the community rallied, but instead of everybody comforting them, which they tried to do, the Strongs tried to comfort everybody else. Yeah. And Jerry Falwell came up and did the funeral.
Wow.
But yeah, I really think those are some of the people a couple that you should connect with, because they are such an inspiration to our region, and they're right in the same field as you, and they've been on both my shows.
Okay, I'll definitely do that. One phrase that's really meant a lot to me is, and I'm sure a lot of people know, freedom isn't free.
Right.
And when you see a family like the Strongs and many men and women that have given that sacrifice, that ultimate sacrifice, it really lets us all know that we can't take our freedom for granted in this country. Right. That it's precious. Right. It's precious to us.
Yeah. Nate has also, Pastor Strong has also written a book about Jesse's journey through growing up, but with the Bible all interdispersed in it, and so you haven't been here very long.
No, only about 4 months now.
4 months. And
Coming up on 4 months.
And how are you liking it so far?
I like it. My daughter, I have we have three children, Angel and I, a 6-year-old, a 4.5-year-old, and a 2-year-old, girl. We've really gotten integrated into the community. My daughter's is going to UCA, and we're really enjoying that. We enjoy living in Derby, enjoy just the beauty of this part of the country. We came from Dallas, so you see a lot of concrete, you see a lot of city there, you see a lot more country here, a lot more outdoors, and so we're enjoying. It's an adjustment from a big city to a smaller area, but we are enjoying it, and the people here are very, very loving and hospitable.
Right. And not only are you taking over a church, but you're also taking over the church at a time when it actually has a new name.
Yes.
It's the
yes.
It used to be
the
United Church of Derby.
That's
or the
right.
Derby United Church. I can't
That's
remember
right.
which way. And now it's the Derby Community
That's
Church.
right.
I know you've known my father now for about 4 months, because
sure
he goes
have.
there on a regular basis, and he tells me that you've brought a lot of life back to the church.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah, you know what is, with all respects to with the other ministers, particularly the interim one, he didn't have any young children. I think you, being young yourself, you have the energy, and you also have the kids.
Yes.
And no, my father says that it went from like 35 people to now you're up to. Are you looking out there seeing almost 60 now?
Well, probably more like 40 or 50 or so, and we're really inviting people and hoping that more people will respond and come into the community. I do a reflection. The previous pastor passed off to me a reflection that I write in the newspaper every Friday, and so I've really enjoyed that. And we're just hoping and praying that more people will respond and get connected to the church.
Yeah, I know my father speaks very highly of you. He speaks highly of seeing the new faces in the congregation. And I think that is great that you're following in your predecessor's footsteps about having that column in, because just constantly being there.
It's fun to be connected into the community as much as we can, and I think that's really where life change happens is when we take what God gives us and we connect ourselves to the community and reach out. Right. I think that's where change happens.
Right. And I know my kids actually grew up in that church, and they've moved away. And most Christmases, not every, we have gone there for Christmas.
Yeah.
And we were there for Easter. As well. Just this last year. Now, are you going to maintain that Easter tradition? I think that has gone on for.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. That outdoor Easter service.
Do you know what you're in for?
I don't. I know.
There's going to be some. There will be some years that you won't. You could maybe wear your shorts.
That'll work.
There's going to be other years.
Yeah.
That when you're standing on that memorial.
Yeah.
You'll be getting blown right off of it just about by the icy cold wind and having to walk through 3 feet of snow. So Easter morning, you never know what you're going to get.
Okay, well, I'll try to adjust. In artillery, you call it adjust fire.
Right.
So that's a phrase that I've carried with me out of the Army. When we have to adjust fire on anything, that's what we have to be ready for.
Well, let's go back to the military a little bit, because, we've been at some kind of war now for at least 10 years. How were the people of Iraq to you when you were there?
My last deployment is the one that is the most noteworthy for me. I was a battery commander, which is an artillery commander, but I was given a sector of land. We were attached to an infantry battalion, and so I had a sector that I went out and I visited. As the commander, I visited, I was a commander about 95, 100 soldiers. And we'd visit the local leaders of the community. And I was blessed in that the time I was there, it wasn't that hostile. The hostility was the previous deployment, the previous unit. But I really grew in. It was hard for me not to appreciate the Iraqi people. They were very hospitable people in my experience. They served us meals. They served us chai, the local tea. My interpreter was Kurdish, and he was a wonderful, funny guy, wonderful guy. I grew in a great friendship with my interpreter. So when I see what's going on over there now with I remember taking a picture of a little girl, a little Iraqi girl. She was just a few years old. Just beautiful, beautiful children. So when I see what's going on there now, it really hurts my heart. Those are dear people that are going through a lot. They're people that many of us, if we met, would be friends with, and even consider someone that we'd want to have over for dinner. So that was my experience. I cherish it, and it hurts me to see the sadness that we see on the news, the death and the killing going on at the hands of ISIS. It really, really hurt. It wrenches my heart to see that.
Do you think, because sometimes, in the previous chapter of my life, I was actually a newspaper reporter, and I follow the media, and I still write, but sometimes I don't even know what to believe by watching the news. Do you think this is like widespread, or is other parts of Iraq, going about life normally?
Yeah. I think in any war, you're going to have, even in World War II, you're going to have pockets that by the grace of God experience peace in daily life, and they're in, shops. They can go out and buy some flatbread and some food for dinner, and then at a moment's notice, there could be catastrophe, a roadside bomb, for instance, that could just kill, innocent people.
Right.
So there's going to be pockets of you have the church in Baghdad, the Anglican church that is experiencing persecution, and then you have other areas that maybe perhaps in the north perhaps are more peaceful. So it's a mishmash of peace and catastrophe, all at the same time, all in the same pot.
Do you think your service was worth it?
Absolutely. I don't regret a moment of it. When I started, I had a full head of hair, and when I ended, now I'm significantly more bald.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, so we really connect there. But I was in for 8.5 years. I'm going into the ministry a bit older than many of my counterparts. A lot of folks in ministry, they go straight from college to seminary right into the ministry. But for me, I draw from my time in the military. It's kind of a well that I draw from on a daily basis.
And I think it's like anything. I think it's like, for example, teachers who become teachers after a career elsewhere, a lot of times they bring a richness to the profession. I'm just using teachers for an example. It's almost like anything. Second career people. Now, you also had was it a near-death experience? You had with an IED?
My last assignment when I was a commander, I was my headquarters was at a different location. We were in a company outpost. It's called a company location partnered with an Iraqi Army battalion. But we would have to drive to the battalion headquarters. I was the commander, so I'd have to go there for meetings and that kind of stuff, and to refuel our vehicles, get food. On the way home one time, my vehicle was hit with an embedded anti-tank mine. I think it was a Russian anti-tank mine that was embedded into the road, and it demolished the vehicle. Fortunately, everybody inside was safe. We then encountered what's called small arms fire. It was an ambush. So they destroyed my vehicle, and then my convoy was immobilized. And when we exited the vehicle, we encountered enemy fire. We fired back. The enemy left. It was dark, and they were able to get away. But it was definitely a bone-rattling experience. I was in what's called an MRAP, which is a wonderful vehicle that is designed to handle IEDs, and it did a wonderful job keeping us all safe. But that was at about month 9 or 10 of a 1-year deployment, and when I got home, that was kind of one of the things that I said, all right, Lord, well, now it's time for me to, I served my country, and I was really proud of that deployment as a commander, as a company or a battery commander. And I really felt like that was kind of a plateau for me, and I was at peace with saying, okay, I did my part to serve, and now I can go ahead and respond to God's call.
Now, is this your first ministry?
It is. This is my first ministry position, and it's as a pastor of a church. So it's pretty much going from the frying pan to the fryer, so to speak.
So is it what you expected?
I think so. The volume is something I'm still adjusting to. The volume of, and I'm sure old pastors know this, but having a sermon ready every Sunday, and getting out and visiting the community. So it is. So
it isn't true that ministers only work 1 hour. No.
Yeah.
I have friends who are ministers, and it's a joke we have is, so how hard can your job be? It's only 1 hour a week that you work.
It's kind of, and I'm learning, because it's a new profession for me too. I'm learning that it's a lot of things at once. It's visiting people. It's praying with people. Sometimes surprises happen, and those are the things that I need to be prepared for.
But that's it. Because as I said, I have friends who are ministers, and they know we're only joking. Is that a lot of people don't realize how much there is involved in the ministry.
There is a lot, and a lot I'm learning. As I'm going along. This is a big learning experience for me.
Yeah, and I wouldn't. I wouldn't want your job.
Yeah.
I think there is a lot. Another person here in the region that you have a bit in common with is Father Michael Reardon he's a Catholic priest.
Okay.
And he is he was also a veteran. I think he was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam, and then he went into the priesthood.
Wow.
So
I'll have to meet him.
Yeah. There is somebody else that you might have a bit in common with. Have you? Now, you're from Louisiana.
From Louisiana. That's right.
Have you, other than my father, who's probably regaled you about his Air Force days at Lake Charles?
That's right.
Did you run into many people
from the South in general? No.
Dr. Bourgeois.
Okay. Well, that's a Louisiana name.
In Derby, he's from Louisiana.
Okay.
He and his, I believe his wife, no, maybe she was Texas, but I think he's Louisiana.
Well, I'll have to meet him. I've heard there's a Cajun restaurant somewhere around here, not in Derby or Newport, but I'm going to have
Westfield.
to go. Maybe that's what it is. I'm going to have to go there one time.
I'm not really sure. I've never been there myself.
Yeah.
So how did you happen? Did you get selected to come up here, or did you? How does the whole process go?
Well, I went to Dallas Theological Seminary, and during your last year there, you can look at what's called a job placement site that they carry, and churches put in resumes or applications, and so I put in for this church, and then through the process they gave me a call, and I flew up here to interview, and flew up here with my wife, left the kids back at home, and then they allowed me to preach and spend a week with them, and they voted us in.
What time of year was that?
That was during the summer.
So you got to.
It was great. We really enjoyed, just seeing this part of the world when it was nice and green.
Right. And then there's that lull between the nice and green. Then you go up to that color.
Yeah,
the explosion
which is
of
really
color.
Nice.
But then you have that kind of like dreary period between where the
kind of what we're in now.
Well, we've gone. Well, no, I mean where there's no snow.
Okay,
And
got
then,
it.
Then we've gone on to snow.
Yeah.
And but Fairbanks, how cold did that get to?
It got down to about -60.
Oh, okay.
So it really got cold.
So So when you hop into your vehicle and the seats feel like a park bench or something, that's not going to surprise you.
Yeah, one thing that there are some benefits to this cold weather. For example, I had a banana peel in my car, and in the South, if you leave a banana peel in your car, your whole car smells like banana bread. But here, it freezes solid, and so that happened last week. So I thought, well, there are some benefits to this cold weather.
Right. What about your wife? Does she enjoy it?
She does. The cold weather, having kids, little kids. One thing that I've learned about having little kids is they need to be outside or they need to be running around. So just kind of the not being outside as much, but just the getting all the stuff on. Right. The coats, the jackets, the hats, making sure the mittens stay on the hands. But once we get them outside and give them some fresh air, my wife enjoys that, and getting the kids.
I had identical
outside.
Twins before I had my daughter too.
Yeah.
And I used to say, by the time you got them dressed to go out, you forgot where you were going.
Yes, that's pretty much how it is.
And one thing that one of the reasons that we lose some people here, professionals and that, is there's people who really like to shop.
Yeah.
Well, you can shop here, and a lot of, I try to shop local, and you happen to have a great Market Derby Village store right down the road from you.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for a nightlife, or if you're looking for
Starbucks or anything like that,
you're not going to find it. But you do have a lot of nice places to go to, but it's different.
It is different. Yeah, it was a big adjustment. No mall. Angèle, my wife, commented to me yesterday. She said, it's been, I think, about 6 months or 5 months since I've, walked in a mall. That's a big adjustment for us, coming from Dallas, Texas, where there's shops and stores everywhere to here. So that is an adjuster.
Right. Okay, with only 7, 8 more minutes left, what do you have a general theory on your ministry?
General theory, just in a ballpark, just encouraging people to love God, and really, when I say love God, my goal is to exalt Christ, to lift up Christ, and I believe that when we lift up Christ, that people will see him and be drawn to him. Right. And my deepest desire is that myself, my family, my kids would know Christ in a deep way, know that he's their Redeemer, that he's their one that saved them and saved me, and really grow in relationship with Christ. And then from that single goal of exalting and growing in a relationship with Christ, really inviting others along in that.
Are you going to reach out to the community, not necessarily proselytizing or anything, but just become a church that is actively involved? Because I think that's where some churches sometimes kind of they forget that. It's great to have this building.
Yes.
And it's great to have this group of people, but I think sometimes there should be a wider mission as well.
Yeah, that's where real life happens, is in community.
Right.
And we have to be connected in community and going to the store, getting a cup of coffee at the store, asking people how they're doing, being involved in soccer games and t-ball or whatever we can do here. And I'm really passionate about getting involved in the community in any way I can.
Right. I think at one time, over the years, I think Derby Church used to have a float in the 4th of July parade, like other churches. Yeah, because other churches do that as well.
Yeah.
And that
sounds great.
Right, just to be out there, because we actually have. Well, it seems to me that we have a lot of churches in this area.
Yeah.
I think we have more churches in this area than when I grew up. You know, you had the Catholic
there
Church.
are a lot here.
Yeah, I think there are, and unfortunately, I think sometimes what happens, until I had friends who were in the ministry, I never realized there was politics behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people just, they move on, form their own church, and you know, they might not start it for the right reasons, but you know, at one time we even had a synagogue in this area. We had a Jewish population, such as the Needlemans, who own Needlemans on Main Street. They've been here for generations. But otherwise, I think we have a large number of churches.
They're really all over.
Right. Any big plans?
Any big plans?
Yeah, any big plans for the church?
You know, just continuing to foster community. We've just started an organization called Trail Life for Boys. So we're trying to get that youth aspect going again in the church, and that's been wonderful getting that started. So if there's any boys out there that and we'll have American Heritage Girls and other girls organization going. Our men's group on Wednesday mornings at 7. Anybody from the community is invited to that, and it's a lot of fun. And
I went to that
hot
for
breakfast.
years.
Yeah, and it's been going on for over 40 years.
Right.
So really the big plans I have is to keep doing well what has been passed on to me. Men's group on Wednesday. Keep preaching every Sunday at 10:30 and preaching God's Word. And then really challenging the congregation that we would get enmeshed in the community to grow in our relationship with Christ together in community.
You know, if I were to go back to the men's breakfast, some of the guys would know how they have to cook my eggs, because I was the ones that I would. They used to joke. They used to call them tire patches.
Okay.
Because I want no run. I'm not a sunny side up.
We can
guy.
do that for you.
You could take my egg and probably slap it right on your tire.
Yeah.
That it's so flat.
Well, Scott, if you come along, we'll have an egg waiting for you.
I don't think my father misses. I don't think my father misses.
He is consistent. He's always there, and I sit next to him every time, and we have a great time.
Yeah.
A great time.
Yeah.
We've actually, this past month, we've been going through a Christmas carol every time, and we sing it, and then we talk about kind of the theology behind some of these old carols.
Right. Oh God, you wouldn't
That would
want
be
me.
fun.
You wouldn't want me to sing.
Yeah. I'm not a good singer either.
No, I'm. Okay, we only have about 2 more minutes left.
Okay.
Is there anything else that you would like to tell the people?
You know, I can't think of much else.
Well, how can people contact you?
Okay.
If they want to know about your service,
Sure.
if they want to know when it is, and
Well, one way is derbycommunitychurch.com. I've have a website that we've just created, and there's a contact link, or you can just swing by the church. We're in Derby, right there on the corner of Route 5, and just going right in there.
almost across from the Cow Palace.
Yeah, right across from the Cow Palace. So just come on by and knock the door. I'm there Monday to Thursday, or just give us a call, and I would love to meet anyone for coffee or just get to know anyone in this community.
You can go to Cow Palace and have yourself an elk burger.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, I've had 2 there so far, and they're great. And so just check out our website, derbycommunitychurch.com, or swing by.
Right. Well, thanks for coming on the show. I've been wanting to get you on here ever since you arrived.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, Scott.
And you know what? We're gonna have. This isn't your last time.
Okay.
Because
great.
Occasionally, what I do is I have panels of veterans.
Oh, that would be great.
But it isn't just like one time we had on Lindy Palin from Derby. He's a B-17 bomber pilot from World War II. He's in his 90s, going on 60.
Wow.
Then we had on John Wilson, the president of the Newport City Council. He was a foot soldier in Vietnam and a 26-year Army veteran. Then we had Dana LaPlante, who he spent his time over, and I'm not sure if it was Iraq and Afghanistan.
Wow.
and they compared and contrasted what
Kind of
life
their
was like
experience,
for
yeah.
them. And I will say this, just for the is the biggest thing they saw in different was the technology about calling home is
changed.
it's changed so
Big
much.
time.
So you will be back on. At least you'll be invited back
Okay.
on.
Oh, I'd love to
because
take
those
you up on
guys
that.
love to just compare and contrast what the military was like
Yeah.
for them.
That'd be great. I would look forward to that.
Okay, thank you for coming on.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Okay.
And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.